Hello, everyone. My name is Alvaro Alvarez, and I'm here today recording this past workshop I did on Fusion 360 for beginners. I just wanted to put this online for those of you that attended the workshop and wanted to do a quick review of it. Also, for those that couldn't attend, this is a chance for you to skim through it, and maybe you could, if you want to learn Fusion 360, this is the perfect opportunity for you. So let's get started. Let me do a quick introduction. My name is Alvaro Alvarez, like I mentioned. My role here, I'm the Innovative Media Librarian at UCR. I'm stationed at Orbach. I work closely with Brendan Wheeler, the Makerspace Services Coordinator. We both work with the Creator Lab exclusively and with the library. So whenever you need anything, you can feel free to email us for any consultation questions, any questions about today's workshop or any of the services we offer. And we offer a lot of stuff through the Creator Lab, like 3D printing. We have sewing machines, art supplies, like tools that you can use to fix stuff. So whenever you need something, maybe you need glue, scissors, we have the stuff in that room. We're open 11 to 5, Monday through Friday, so feel free to walk by and visit. So today we are going to go over a few things. So I want you to get comfortable with Fusion 360, so I'm not gonna get like into too intermediate or advanced things with it. I just want you to get comfortable, learn how the interface works, like how the modeling works, and exporting the file for 3D printing. Um, so what is Fusion 360? Fusion 360 is a parametric design program. Um, Main difference between this and like Blender and Maya is that like Blender and Maya are used more for like 3D character or scene rendering or 3D modeling from scratch. Like Blender is a 3D modeling software, but it's like more like for like if you want to do animations, you want to do some VFX stuff. um, as for the other one I mentioned, like Maya, that too, you could do stuff like I know the new Godzilla -1, I think they used Maya for his creation, like the 3D model. But yeah, anyway, the Fusion 360 and SolidWorks, they're like another type of 3D modeling. So it's like if you want something with precise measurements, that's when you would want to go to these softwares. Or like you're doing something with robotics, maybe you're creating something and you need to have the code for like a computer-aided machine to know what to do with the materials. You can also run simulations with Fusion 360. That way, you know, like your design is actually going to work before you 3D print it or manufacture it. So it's a little more advanced, I guess. It's what like more of the professionals use, I guess. So there are other tools like Tinkercad and more beginner friendly where you can learn and then move your way up to like Fusion or SolidWorks. Um, so like I mentioned before, it's like for manufacturing. You can use it with like CNC machines and multi-axis machines and electronics like for schematics, PCB layouts. You can design all that in Fusion 360 and the simulation, of course. So it'll just reduce costs that you don't have to print it like 20 times to find out it doesn't work, and then you finally get the uh, good iteration of your model, and that could take a lot of time. Sometimes you don't have that time, so you run a simulation in this program, and you know it's good to go. And collaboration too. It's cloud managed, so like any you can access this anywhere, share it with anyone. Sometimes I work from home. I'll save it, then I'll go to work, continue working on it there, save it again, and then it's on the cloud, so it's saved, and I know I can access it anytime. So this slide will show you where you can download Fusion 360. Because you are UCR students, you can get a free student based education based account. So if you follow this link, or if you Google it, Adobe, they have the license where they'll give you a year, I believe. Then you can renew it every year or whatever the length is for it. So as long as you have that edu email, you can renew it and use it. And here's the QR code as well if you want to use your phones to get access to the software. It's a pretty straightforward download and install. Um, it just asks you where you want to install it, few questions, and it's good to go. But yeah, let's see. Next slide, the interface for Fusion 360. I kind of want to go over this a little bit. So first of all, you have your data panel. So here for the data panel, that's where you like have all the information for like some of your projects. Let me go back. So like as you can see right here, it's the my account name, some of the projects that I have. The application bar right next to this is kind of like any other software. It's just like where you can save, hit the back arrow forward, hit the home button. Pretty straightforward. That's where you would go to save it and export. And I'll show you that in a little bit when I get into the actual software. Your active design file tab too. That's like you see it says untitled there. If I had more projects open at the same time, they would be there. And if I saved them, they'd be there by name. So if you see multiple tabs there, that's your active designs. So you can always close them out, or maybe you need them open because you're going back and forth between them. That's just depends on what you're doing. So, over on the right, you have your profile settings. So where it says my initials, AA, Alvaro Alvarez, I can go there for any of the settings that I want to change in regards to like the Fusion 360 software. Like any other programs, that's where you would go to change kind of like I believe you could change like the measurements and some of the stuff like that. Your password, maybe you need to change it. Toolbar, number five, that's where you have all the tools. Depending if you're in sketch mode or just solid mode, surface mode, you're gonna have different tools that you can use, and they're pretty self-explanatory. If you hover over them, you'll see the name and an explanation of what they do. You can always Google that specific tool, and then you can apply it to your model. If for some reason there's something wrong with your model, it won't allow you to use it, and it usually gives you a warning. So you can always Google that and see why it's not letting you. Sometimes it's something very simple. Sometimes it could be something a little more complicated, but play around with that. Your browser. So the browser is kind of like in Photoshop where you have your layers. Think of this as layers. So here you can have all the different folders for your components. So like you want to separate some of the parts you're creating maybe by components if it has multiple parts to it. That creates an assembly. So just to keep organized, it's a good practice. So you can create like a folder for your wheel, a folder for your robot body. Um, yeah, you can create as many as you want. So it's just to keep organized while you're working in Fusion 360. And seven is the view cube. So in Fusion, that's the way you're going to navigate through the software itself. So with your mouse, you're going to left click and then you can hold and move that cube. You can also click on one of the sides, like the right, left, front, and it'll move the view to that. And I'll show you when I'm working in Fusion 362. I'll go over some of this so you're not confused. And unfortunately, that's the only way to like kind of maneuver around your object. Unlike Blender and others where you could use your mouse, this one you have to use that cube to kind of hover around your object when you're working with it. And eight is the design area. So the middle of the area, like any other software, you're gonna have a design area. So the canvas is like you can kind of see a grid. You could see the colors for the X, Y, and Z axis, and then that's where you can view your model and design it. And nine, if this is enabled, the timeline will keep track of like anything you do. So if you like decide you need to change anything with their measurements or you did something wrong, you can always go to the timeline and back up to the point where you made the mistake and then redo it, and that'll update your whole 3D model and the timeline to whatever you make the change to. So that's a very neat feature. If it's disabled, there's a way to enable it too. But usually it's enabled. I haven't had to go in and enable it. But if you do, there are if you Google it, they'll show you like ways to do it. And if I remember, I'll show you as well when I'm working on the design. Uh, 10, the navigation bar. It's pretty self-explanatory. You could kind of see the little hand, the zoom in, zoom out, rotate. Just to navigate, it'll help kind of navigate around your design canvas. And that's it for that part. So let me go over like the modeling breakdown for this. So First we want to download our pre-made design into Fusion 360. So, um, so like if you're trying to, in our case, we have um, a motor, a DC motor. I downloaded that from the internet. There are different websites out there where you can download pre-made designs, and that way I don't have to start from scratch, and I can just go around that and start designing what I want around it. We always have to create new components when we're doing this too, and I'll show you all this so you don't get confused. And you can also use the inspect tool at the very end, after you create all your components and create an assembly around the object you imported. With the inspection tool, that's just if you want to make sure that your measurements are correct before 3D printing. Export your work as an STL. That's the file we use to print when we send it to another software for slicing. STL is the standard one for 3D printing just because it just keeps the very basic data of the mesh, nothing else. Other files will keep other data, like if you're working with animation, it might keep the um, your rig, your lighting, your textures. So STL is like the most basic, one of the most basic 3D files you'll see. And let's see. I think I skipped one, but yeah. So to import your models, like I was mentioning, there are a lot of different websites out there, but the ones for Fusion that you want to work with are step files and also the native Fusion 360 files. So if you go to websites like GrabCAD, you can find a lot of different models. That's where I grabbed my motor from. Well, once you go there, you do need to create an account with this particular website, but there are others where you probably don't need to. This particular file I downloaded was free, so I went ahead and downloaded it for you. It's on this Google Drive link. Feel free to go there if you don't want to create an account, and you can download the step file I used for today's workshop. Modeling components. Um, for your components, that just breaks down a larger design. So when someone mentions a component in Fusion 360, that's just like different parts. Like think of it as a clock. So all the little components, all the wheels that create like help the clock move the hands. So those are like your components, and like you could think of the clock as an assembly. So that's like the actual like finished product with all the little components in it. Um, but yeah, and then the beauty about components is that you can use them in other designs. So if I make something with the motor, I can always use it in another design if it fits into that project. And it also just prevents clutter when you're working, because if you have different folders with components and the names specific to that, then you can always just go to that folder and you can work on that file. Let's see. So, when modeling at the end, I mentioned inspecting your work before you export it. So, that's just a good practice. You want to verify um, and make sure everything fits, measurements are good. Uh, Also, sometimes if you're working with like a real world object, like in this case, we're working with a motor. If you know the measurements for your motor, you can always go into Fusion 360 and measure the part that you downloaded that represents that physical object that you're using. That way, you know that right before you're gonna start to model, everything's good. So I recently created a case for my phone, for my iPhone. So I used the website that I showed you. I downloaded a model of my iPhone. It was like the 13, I think. And I just did a quick measurement on Fusion and in the real world, and everything matched up. So I knew right then and there that I can continue and start modeling my case so that when I printed, it would work. And I did print it with TPU, and it fit perfectly on my phone. All the holes matched the buttons on my phone, and I was able to use it. So that concludes the presentation. Anything you do, feel free to share it. Hashtag UC Create. You see Heart Create. I don't know if you see that, but yeah. And also visit our website, and we do have an Instagram. It's UCR underscore Creator Lab. Feel free to go there. We share the slides there. We have a link tree to our website and services, and we post anything that we do, like workshops, events. So follow us so that you can keep current with what we're doing. And then the website, of course, has also more information on some of the services, and that's where you can actually go and submit for a 3D print. So for us, we do 60 grams per quarter for free. If it's academic print for your project, senior project, class project, it's free. You just need to mention that when you submit your 3D print on the form. But anything else, like after 60 grams, if it's like a personal print, it's just 6 cents per gram, so it's not that expensive. It's just to kind of keep help us replace some of the filaments and all that. But anyway, let's see. Now I'm going to go into Fusion 360. So let me share that screen. So, okay. So we are in Fusion 360 now. So like you could see here, the interface that I was talking about in my current slides that I showed you. So we have over here our data panel area. So here is like the home button. If I go here, I can see all the projects that I've been working on. Let me see if I can click on one. So I could show you I was working on a neon light. So here is Curvy. It's a neon light. It's for a workshop that we plan to do. So I did it here because the LED strips that we have are 5 mm in and width and length. So I did this so that I can create the path where I can just stick the LED strip in. And if you go to our workshop for this, it's the LED light workshop. Uh, we're gonna offer it in a few weeks. We started part one already, and we're gonna do the 3D modeling for part two. I believe it's next Wednesday. But yeah, if you want to come and learn how to do this, you feel free to contact us too. You can always come into the creator lab and we could show you if you can't make the workshop. But anyway, let me go back to the DC motor. So you can see I have different folders here. I can delete folders and rename them. I can add new folders. I can upload things, so that's how I uploaded a motor. If you go to the link that I provided, you can download the motor to your computer and then just hit upload, look for the step file, and then it'll pop up like this here. Let's see. So here you can see I was working on a robot body. I can click on that. I don't remember what was there. I was practicing for the workshop, so I might have deleted everything. So yeah, you see I don't have anything here. You could see up here how I mentioned you have a lot of tabs, so I have a lot of active projects. I can close some of these out. It might be slowing down my computer also, so I'll close the ones I'm not going to use. I'll just keep the robot body one that I'm currently on. You can see there's nothing here. I'm just using the box to kind of hover around and using the wheel on my mouse to scroll in and out, zoom in and out. You can also use these to zoom in and out or the little hand to kind of pan around. Uh, so those are the two methods of navigating around, this, and that. And you can hit the home button, goes back to the original view. Uh, let's see. So now I'm in this current tab right now for the robotic body that I created. I want to go back a folder. Now I want to import this in here so I can start working around this step file. So what I want to do is right click on it, insert into current design. Oh, so now you see it's in my current design. It's a little lopsided, so yeah, you can see it's not straight. So you can always move it around. What I like to do is set the pivot point. Right now, the pivot point is like this little corner right here. I want to set it somewhere else where it makes it easier for me to move this object around. So I want to do that. Then I want to hit done right here, just left click, and that resets the pivot point for your object. So now I can use this to hover around. Let's see, do a top view. So now I can pretty much move it around by left clicking on the center square. I can rotate it. And I can use the grid to like, kind of guide me too as to how many degrees I want to turn it. Let's see. So now I want to go here, straighten it out, and then I can go to the side view, rotate it a little more. And then you can move it around until you feel comfortable and you think it's straight. You can always type in the degrees that you want to move it at as well. Right now it's at 10, so I could show you, I could hit 11. Yeah, it looks pretty straight to me. So I hit enter, I got rid of the little tab, the little window over here that allowed me to like change the pivot point and move it around. Um, so you can see mine's is pretty straight. Over here is where my motor is. So if I want to like hide it, I can click on this, bring it back. Let's see. So another thing I want to do now before I start creating stuff around this object is create the folders. Like I mentioned, you want to keep everything organized. So you want to, oops, clicked on the wrong one. Just hit cancel. And let's see. So you want to go to assemble, new component. And then, oh, before I do that, make sure you are up here on this little dot right here means that this folder or this component is your active component. So right now this is like the top of the directory. All these are like subdirectories to this one. So I want to make sure this is the active one, nothing else. Once I go to that, make sure I do that. Then go to assembly, didn't do new component. We could call it, I'll call it base or left or wheel, whatever you want to call it. You could call it base. Um, so now you see it creates this folder called or component and it's called base. There's nothing there under it, just the origin. But I can, if I want, move this in there. Drag and drop. So left click, drag and drop. So now in that base folder, I have my motor. I mean, I guess if you wanted to be a little better at naming, you could just call it motor or motor component instead of base. So it's up to you, whatever naming convention you want to come up with, as long as you know what you're working with. But it would help if other people were working on it, maybe have something where they're gonna know what like base means. But anyway, now that I have this. When you're working with Fusion 360, I want to create another, they'll have different components to create the assembly, like I mentioned in my presentation. So I want to create another folder. So I'm going to click on the robot body, the top of the directory, and then click on the little dot, make that the active. And then I'm going to create another component. So again, go to assemble, new component, and then I can call that, um, it could either be the left wheel or right wheel. I call it left wheel. Uh, and I hit OK. So now that's my active component. So that's where I want to actually start creating my file in this component right here that I created. I don't want to do it in here because then it'll group everything with the motor. Um, So I'll do this, make sure that's active. And if you hover over it, it'll say active component and show the little circle with the dot. So that's how you want to verify you're on working on the right component, or you could it's a folder pretty much uh for your object. So let's see, I can always hit the home button, go back to the home. So let's see, let's look at the design of the motor. So you could kind of see right here, you have the area where you connect the wheel and that'll turn. All the gears are inside of this, of course. You have these holes for screws. They're pretty long screws. Actually, I don't think this is a hole for a screw. I think it's just a little something that sticks out on the side. You have holes over here for your screws. You could use nuts and bolts to like tighten them, fasten them to your robot body. Uh, Today I'm just gonna do something very basic to show you how to sketch around this. You can get more creative, and if you actually want to create a robot or something, you can play around with it a little more. But today I'm just gonna show you like the very basics of Fusion 360 just to kind of get you started with sketching. Let's see. So let's say I want to work on this side of the robot and I'm just middle button clicking to move left and right, up and down. So position it, zoom in and out if you need to. I'm going to click on this. So when you are working with the component and you want to create the sketch to create your solid, you want to click on one of the faces. So it's the XYZ axis. You see here it says origin. Now you see the little XYZ plane in the middle of that. So that's pretty much what you just need to do. Decide what side of this on the XYZ you want to like do your sketch on. In this case, I want to do it on this one so that I can create like a little panel where I can create holes for this stuff so that when I print it, I can snap the motor on there, put some screws on, and fasten it to whatever it is I'm going to create for the rest of the robot body. So once I do this, there's a button over here that says Create Sketch. If you hover over it, it kind of explains what this does. You can read it on your own, but once I click on that, it kind of pans to that view, that side view where of that plane that I'm working on. You see this window come up too. Uh, for now, you see there's different tools up here as well. Like I could create lines, rectangles, circles, curved lines, mirror stuff, add dimensions. All I'm going to do is use you can hit P on your keyboard if you click on this, and it's gonna give you like a project option. To find that, you just go to create, and it should be under project, and then hit that project. It gives you an explanation there too. So what I want to do is project that face, that side of the motor. So I'll hit project. And once I hit OK, it says select geometry, so I'm gonna select the this whole face, and then I'm gonna hit OK. So now you should see these purple lines. So pretty much what's going on now, if I take the motor out, I have like a basic outline of those holes. I know they're gonna be to the measurements. I don't have to worry about adjusting them. So when I print it, it'll coincide with the holes of the step file for the motor. So now that I have this, I can click on this. If you go to solid, there's an extrude function. So with a lot of those 3D softwares that you use, you know, you have to extrude to make like a solid. So it gives you the shortcut, which is E, and then if you click on it, you need to move the window around and you'll be able to see a little arrow. You can type in a number or just drag until you have in millimeters, the thickness you want. I'll do 5 millimeters. Make sure it's a new body. You don't need to worry about any of this, but you can play around with it if you want to. But for this particular sketch we're doing, we don't need to change anything. Just make sure it's new body. You have other options too, like if you want to cut into something, intersect it, join it. But for this, we want a new body. So click that. So now you see I just created very quickly an accurate panel for my motor. Uh, so yeah, so you see if when I print it, I'll be able to just snap it on there, add the screws, and connect it. So like now, to build around this, you can, like the same way you did this, you can click on one of the planes. You can click on this plane, this plane, this plane, and create a sketch. So if I click on this plane, I'm gonna keep working off of this guy, so I can just go create sketch. Um, so now I can use one of these tools if I want to draw something out. You can rotate this if you want. Kind of want it flat though. I'm going to zoom in. You can get rid of the motor if you don't need it by just clicking on the little eye. So again, I'm at the bottom. I can use a line tool just to start drawing. You see it snaps. It says place first point. So I'm gonna go here. You could type in a number if you know how long you want it. I could just do like 20 and then once I'm good, left click and then it'll allow me to draw another line. So I can specify the length I want. So I could just manually do it, eyeball it. If I want to, I could click, lock it, and then bring this up. And then I'll show you how you can modify those little nodes that you created at the end. So I'll do this one and then I'll bring this guy in to close it. So now I've closed my design. So now let's see. Oops. You can always delete something if you like click on it and delete it if you by accident did any like created like right now I clicked on this and it drew another line. But yeah, you could kind of see that you can move stuff around. So if I want to straighten it a little bit, I can do that too. Um but yeah, you could see it tells you the measurements. So if I'm pretty happy with this, the same thing I want to do is hit the extrude, click on the face, then you go to solid, extrude, and then you want to go this way. You see the little arrow, then you can extrude down, extrude. You could do 5 millimeters if you want. You could rotate to make sure that you like it. Uh, right now, because I did the line here, it's not really gonna join to this, but that was my mistake. I should have actually started the line over in this area a little more. Um, but if you did that, don't worry. You can always just do, you can still do join, I believe. Just go over here. You can click on this guy. You can people press pull. I don't know if it'll allow me to. Do. Oh, it won't let me do that. Okay, so you can always just extrude. I think that's probably gonna be the easiest way. And then make sure it says join, hit OK. Um, so yeah, it wasn't a problem. So you see, I just added that for my sketch. I could go back, enable this guy just to see how it looks. So you can see I created a little housing for my motor. Um, so yeah, from here you can always keep sketching. So if this is just one side of the robot, you can always go to the top view and then start creating a sketch, just how I did. So you want to make sure you click on the plane that you want to work on. So whether it's this one, you want to continue expanding like left or to the sides, or if you want to do something on top, you click on that plane and then you just go to pretty much create sketch and then you can start drawing out what you need and then you want to hit the extrude button. So it's very repetitive, but you want to keep doing that and then you'll eventually have your model. Let me finish sketch. And you see down here, this is the timeline I was talking about. So you can always go back. See, it says extrude one, extrude two, extrude three, sketch. So you can always go back and double click and it'll take you back to like that sketch where you can manipulate some of the dimensions if you want. I'm not gonna do anything. That's all I hit finish sketch. And that's a good options to have when you're working with this. And let's say you want to kind of clean these up, you can always do that. You can do like 5 millimeters. It's not gonna really do that many. Two. So yeah, you see like it adds like a roundness to it. That's all personal preference if you wanted to do that. You can make stuff round. You can click on more faces when you do it, and it'll make it like round if you don't want sharp. But I'll just cancel. I don't want to do that. But after that, yeah, if you want to export this to print, you could come over here. You go to the bodies. It's this guy. You want to right click, and then there should be an option to save as a mesh. You want an STL like I mentioned, and it gives you OBJ, STL2. You want binary. I don't think it would matter between these two. I just keep it as binary. Um, Millimeters, so refinement. I leave everything pretty much as is. You can change this if you want more detail. But yeah, once you hit OK, it'll ask you where you want to save it to. Um, Down here, name it, and you can save it to the cloud as well if you want. And then it asks you under what folder. So you could see I have all the different project folders that I have. So if I wanted to save this in another folder, I could just click on that and do that. But yeah, but anyway, that's all I wanted to show you today with the Fusion 360. Feel free to play around with it and see what you can create with this. Maybe you want to do a full-on carriage for the motors, so you want to maybe like expand this out a little more, and then you can always move this motor to the other side and create the housing for it, add more components to it. Like if you're working with a Raspberry Pi or Arduino, you can bring that into here as well and create a little housing for it and have like something where you can 3D print and house all your electrical components and snap them all together really quickly so you can have something functional. But yeah, thank you. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me. Again, on the slide, there's the contact info. And social media slides are shared. So if you need them, they're there for you to use. And also the motors, they're there for you as well. So yeah, thank you anyway, and see you at our next workshop. Hope you have a good day. Okay.